You're watching CHCO-TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the May 5th, 2025 regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews. I'm Florence Mitchell. Today's meeting begins with a presentation by Peter Logan of Teed, Saunders & Doyle on the town's 2024 consolidated financial statements. Council will later move to approve these statements. Under Communications, Council will move to proclaim May 25th to 31st as Disability Awareness Week under the Premier's Council on Disabilities. Under Finance and Administration, Deputy Mayor Akagi will move that Council enter into lease agreements with physiotherapist Giselle Neal and athletic therapist Ann Halsey for the rental space at the Wellness Centre for 5 years. Under Public Works and Public Safety, Councillors Bennett and Neal will move that Council award water and sewer tenders for Prince of Wales Street, Carlton Street, and Thomas Avenue to Midi Construction Limited and Coastal Enterprises Limited. Under Economic Development, Business and Culture, Councillors Hurdle and Weir will make motions that Council approves the use of Market Square or King Street and closes sections of appropriate streets for the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews event taking place October 15th to 20th. That Council approves Public Works to install patio lighting along Water Street, and that Council approves the event to have up to 5 food trucks operate on October 17th and 18th, and that they pay the permit fee of $75 per vehicle. Under Planning and Community Development, Councillors Harland and Heenan will move that Council grants leave for the second and third readings of Amendment Z22-11 to the zoning bylaw. Councillors Harland and Heenan will also move that Council appoints John LaRue to the Heritage Board for a term of 2 years. Now let's join Council at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers in St. Andrews.
All right, welcome everybody to the regular council meeting for the town of St. Andrews, Monday, May 5th, hard to believe. 6:30 p.m. We are at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Chambers. This meeting, though, is being streamed through Facebook and Zoom. If anyone has any questions relating to tonight's agenda, please reach out by emailing pnopper@townofstanders.ca, and Mr. Nopper will make sure to put that in the comments as always. So let's jump right into the agenda. I'll do a quick recording of attendance. All members of the council are here with the exception of Councillor Harland, and I know Councillor Hurdle is joining us virtually, so thank you, Councillor Hurdle. And I do want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Beskoto-Mogadi people. Approval of the agenda. Could I have someone move to approve the agenda as circulated? I've got Councillor Heenan and second it by, we'll go Councillor Blanchard. All in favor of, any changes to the agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. That's everybody, the agenda has been carried. Any conflict of interest this evening? Councillor Neal.
Yes, I'll declare a conflict for item FA 250433.
Thank you very much, Councillor Neal. We'll give you time to recuse yourself. And Deputy Mayor, I should have mentioned to you earlier today, I think I will declare a conflict of interest in regards to the indulge motions, if you don't mind taking those. I know it's technically not a, probably not a conflict of interest, but Kingsbury is heavily involved with it, so I think I'll just declare it to be on the safe side. All right, no other? Okay, let's jump right into the presentation. I see that Peter Logan is online of Teed, Saunders & Doyle. He is doing a presentation on the 2024 consolidated financial statements for the town of St. Andrews. And just for the public's information, we did do a whole work session on it to dive into the numbers. So this is going to be, I guess, a quick summary just for the public knowledge, and also so we can accept it later in the meeting for the public to access should they have any questions or want to make an inquiry. So welcome, Mr. Logan. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. Appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. I think what I'll do, I know everyone has a copy of the statements, but I'm going to believe I can share my screen. There. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep, we're good.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again for having me here this evening. So as Mayor Henderson had mentioned, we had a couple of weeks ago a fairly detailed meeting on the statements. So this evening's presentation will just be brief and kind of touch on the highlights. So our job as the independent auditors, we come in, it's March timeframe, and prepare the audit. And our job is to kind of go through the books and records of the town to make sure that they are in compliance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So those are the standards that all municipalities in the country follow. So this is our auditor's report, and it does show in that sort of second paragraph, this is our opinion, and it does state that everything is in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards. So the next statement I'll take you to would be your statement. There you go. Statement of operations. So this is for the 12 months ended December 31st, 2024. These are consolidated financial statements. So included within the towns in these financial statements are also the financial records of the Ross Memorial Library and Explore St. Andrews, which is new this year. So they are included within these numbers. So the top section is your revenue. So this year, the town had property tax warrant of $6,257,000 compared to $5.765 million last year. The total revenue that the town took in this year was $11,035,493, up from $9.927 million last year. One of the big items you'll see is your conditional government transfers of $1.512 million. So what that is, that's money that the town receives from government agencies for capital work. So even though the money is spent on capital projects, which are then amortized over a number of years, the related grants, we bring those into income in the year that the town receives them. So that's what that $1.5 million is. Under the expenses, so the various categories, there's general government services, protective services, fire and police, your transportation. So all of these categories are standard for a municipality. So they all report under these same headings. So the expenses this year, total expenditures were at $8,495,000. Up from $8.6 million last year, but the budget was $8,493,000, so pretty much on budget. So the surplus this year within the town, when we subtract those expenses from the revenue, surplus before unrealized gain on investments was $2,540,000. And as I said, one of the biggest reasons you have a surplus like that would be those conditional government grants, the 1.5. Because we're bringing those into income this year, all of it comes in. It shows up as a surplus. Within the town's records, they also keep track of the funding surpluses for the general fund and the water and sewer fund. So funding surplus would be basically when you're paying down things like principal repayment on debt, when you're buying capital out of your operations, those things are considered expenditures under the funding format. So within that this year, your general fund, it had a funding surplus of $6,914, and the water and sewer fund had a surplus of $33,352. So on the balance sheet, one last thing. Yeah, you'll see there's an adjustment for what we call unrealized gain on investments. So within your reserve funds, you have investments. So we adjust those investments each year to market value. So there was what we call an unrealized gain adjustment this year of $223,000. So the annual surplus for this year, you're at $2,763,000. The accumulated surplus in the town at the end of last year was $30,058,456. So we add this year's surplus to that, which puts your accumulated surplus at the end of the year at just under $33 million. And really what that surplus is, when we look at your statement of financial position, it's really the equity that the town has in its capital assets. So you can see here, tangible capital assets for the town. So these are your streets, roads, buildings, equipment. They're at $58 million. We are also amortizing those assets. So every year we recognize some expense just to take into account that they're a year older. So to date, we have amortized $24,085,000 worth of those tangible capital assets. So the book value of those assets is $33,981,000, which is pretty much what the surplus in the town is. And this year there was $2.5 million added and capital additions. There was just under 1.3 million spent on roads, 260,000 on equipment, and there was 327,000 spent on your buildings. The top section there is your financial assets. So this just those things like the cash, receivables, those investments, which I'd spoken about in the reserve funds. Under your liabilities, that would be your debts. So you can see there, you have long-term debt of 5.386 million. So those would be your debentures. Now in 2024, there were no new debentures added, and there was 437,000 paid down on those debentures. So they ended up the year at $5,386,000. The debt service ratio. So that's a calculation that we look at each year for the town. So what that is we just look at the amount of the town's total expenses that are going towards debt service. So that would be interest and principal repayments. So in your general fund this year, the debt service payment was 3.29%. And in the water and sewer fund, it was 24%. So within your general fund, sort of the upper limit on that debt service ratio would be around 20%. So the town is well within that in the general fund. And in the water and sewer fund, that upper limit is 50%. Because water and sewer tends to be more capital intensive, and it's also a smaller sort of operation compared to your general fund. So again, the town under both general and water and sewer are well underneath sort of the upper limits that the province looks at. And the reserve funds as well. So within the town, there are reserve funds. So each year, at the end of the year, if there's some surpluses, the town has the ability to transfer funds over to those surpluses or reserves. So this year, let me see if I can just bring those up real quick. There they are. Yeah, so these are your reserve funds here. So you have a general operating reserve fund. So that would be for your operating expenses. If something came up that was unbudgeted or unforeseen. You've got your general capital reserve at 2.63 million. So that's for capital items, buildings, roads, that sort of thing. Utility operating is at 11,000. That's for operational on the utility side. And then same with the capital, utility capital, there's a reserve there of 421,000. So during this year, the reserves increased by $940,000 over last year. Just one second, I have a cat who's trying to, there. Sorry about that. Yeah, so those reserves increased by $941,000 over last year. So at the end of this year, they're at $3,308,000. That's really it, I guess, for my presentation. Just a comment on the operations. It was a clean audit, so we didn't really find anything in terms of issuing any management recommendation letters. We didn't come across any control weaknesses in that respect. So everything was in good shape. The audit went well. And so just wanted to thank Chris and his staff for making the audit as painless as it could be. And that's it for my presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Logan. Appreciate that. Is there any questions from any member of council? We've got Councillor Ware.
Thank you very much. I appreciate how Explore St. Andrews was handled. I think it was in last year's statements, only it was included in the town, so the expenditures were there, but they weren't classified as Explore St. Andrews or whatever. But I appreciate it. I wish I'd known I wouldn't now be an expert on PSAB 1300, but anyway, it was a nice review. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Weir. Yeah, we did look at the bylaws for Explore St. Andrews in quite a bit of detail. So, and you're correct, there is control there, so they will be included within the consolidated statements on a go-forward basis, as long as those bylaws are still the way they are. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Ware. Any other, Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Mayor Henderson. If I could ask, please, I noticed that a bunch of the figures that you just quoted are different from the numbers in my handout that we were given for our last meeting where you presented. Is that because now the numbers for Explore St. Andrews are included in here and they've just
correct.
increased by that amount?
That's correct, yep. So since the draft meeting we had a few weeks ago, so now the Explore St. Andrews figures are incorporated there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bennett. Any other member of council? All right, well, thank you. Is there any, Mr. Logan doesn't have to stay on line for the motion and go through the staff reports and all those. Not that people don't love those, Mr. Spear, but, all right, well, thank you very much for being here. We certainly.
I'm sure he'll leave his line open to listen in.
He'll follow.
I'll have my head.
Yeah, he'll probably get off the call, but follow online for sure. Yeah.
I apologize for the cat's interruption too. It never fails, never.
Yeah, well, Deputy Mayor Akaji can relate. We used to Zoom as well, so there you go. Thank you so much for being on the call, and again, thank you for the review that we did last week. We greatly appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, council, that wraps up presentation. So we are into the approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any changes? Otherwise, I'll fly through them. Okay, I'm seeing none, so I will do the speed version of it. The first is the minutes of the 250407 public hearing of objections to amendment Z2211 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01, Monday, April 7, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Mover, please. We're going to go with Heenan, seconded by, we've got Blanchard. All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Those have been carried. The next is the minutes of the 250407 regular council meeting on Monday, April 7th, 2025, 6:45 p.m. Once again, the mover. Got Deputy Mayor Akaji and seconded by, looking on the screen, but Councillor Neal's got it. All in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye. And the last set is the minutes of the 250422 regular council meeting Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Looking for a mover, Councillor Hurdle, and a seconder. I feel like an auctioneer now. Councillor Blanchard, all in favor of approving those minutes, please signify by saying aye. Once again, those are all carried. Thank you, council. We are getting into communications. There is two that are included. The first is just a staff report by Explore St. Andrews, which I definitely do like this update that we've received the last couple of months. It gives us a little bit more visibility in what's going on there. I'm not going to go through line by line. It's quite a bit, but if anyone would like to see that, it's a public record now. You can get that at Town Hall. So I will skip over that.
So, Your Worship, just for clarification, they're still aiming to present to council on the 20th, so to talk about the 2024 and 2025 years.
Perfect. That was a request of council. Thank you for that timeline. Greatly appreciate it. The next is actually, it's written in the form of a motion, so I'll just go through it with you. It is a proclamation for Disability Awareness Week, May 25th to 31st, 2025. The town of St. Andrews has received a request for a proclamation to support Disability Awareness Week in the province of New Brunswick, May 25th to 31st, 2025. The request was received through the Premier's Council on Disabilities. Please see the attached proclamation for details. Disability Awareness Week, DAW, continues the tradition of National Access Awareness Week, first established in 1988 to promote better community access for people with disabilities. This campaign happened in response to a request from Rick Hansen following his Man in Motion World Tour. For 10 years, the National Committee coordinated planning for the week in the communities all over Canada. In 1998, a decision was made in New Brunswick to continue celebrating an annual Awareness Week, but with a new name to ensure that all issues related to persons with a disability could be promoted. 2025 marks the 38th consecutive annual Disability Awareness Week in New Brunswick. The motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews proclaims May 25th to 31st, 2025 as Disability Awareness Week for the Town of St. Andrews under the Premier's Council on Disabilities. Could I have a mover? I've got Deputy Mayor Akaji and seconded by Councillor Heenan. Any debate on this one? All in favor of me reading the proclamation, please signify by saying aye. Okay, thank you, everyone. This is the Town of St. Andrews proclamation of Disability Awareness Week, New Brunswick, May 25th to the 31st, 2025. Champion accessibility, celebrating diversity. Whereas the Town of St. Andrews is committed to assisting citizens with disabilities to participate fully in our community, and whereas many persons living with disabilities face barriers in the areas of employment, access to information, transportation, housing, education, recreation, and other disability-related supports, and whereas we believe that more citizens with disabilities should have the chance to access disability-related supports to improve their opportunities in New Brunswick, and whereas we support the theme Champion Accessibility, Celebrating Diversity, and now therefore be it resolved that the Town of St. Andrews hereby proclaims the week of May 25th to 31st, 2025 as Disability Awareness Week in New Brunswick. And do I have to do the now therefore? No, we're good. Well, so we will sign that proclamation and definitely have that done. We appreciate them reaching out to draw more awareness on disabilities in our communities and across Canada. All right, Council, that takes us through communications. Let's jump into motions now. And I am going to get my package here a little backwards.
Somebody wants to talk.
And staff report, thank you. I knew that, but I'm a little lost.
Is there a hockey game on later you need to catch, your worship?
No, the Bruins have been done for a while, but I will have lots of time during your staff report to get my agenda back in order.
Council, happy to see sunshine finally come out, so we're able to get out and enjoy the warmer spring weather. With Paddle Fest and the Farmers Market just a few weeks away, summer must be close. Council met with our planner, Xander Gopin, last week to go over an early draft of the zoning bylaw. As this is a council document, they will want to meet a few times to ensure the draft that you put out to the public reflects your vision and expectations for the community. After council internally approves the release of the municipal plan and zoning bylaw, there will be public presentations and an opportunity for community consultations prior to 3 readings to be adopted. I suspect it'll be another 4 to 6 weeks or more before council has approved the initial draft. We had a presentation early this evening from Peter Logan of Teed Saunders Doyle, who gave the municipality a clean audit report. Looking at the surpluses for property tax purposes, the general operating fund has a surplus of $6,900, while the utility fund has a surplus of $33,352. The surpluses are added to revenue in 2026. We had a missing piece on the Heritage Board, as someone with experience in either the renovation of or an architect who specializes in old buildings needs to be included as legislated by the Act. We are happy that John LaRue has volunteered his time and expertise. In addition to being a known specialist in heritage architecture, he has also written a book about St. Andrews and its historic buildings. Before council tonight is consideration for awarding tenders for in-ground infrastructure projects on Carleton and Prince of Wales Streets, plus stormwater refurbishment in the Thomas Avenue area. Combined, the projects were $200,000 below budget. This will reduce the borrowing needed as we move forward with replacing aged infrastructure. We are happy to announce that both the town hall washrooms and those at the point are open for the season. We appreciate the public's patience at the town hall washrooms were closed all winter, but thank Public Works for the incredible renovations they did. In addition to adding a few more facilities, it also has a cleaner look with better materials that should last us for decades to come. I would like to provide the public with another wharf update. The final designs are near completion and will be reviewed by council in early May with the hope to put it out to tender at the end of May or into early June. Due to the size of the project, we will run the tender over 4 weeks and should have an award to make at the first meeting in July. The next set of water bills were printed last week and are either in the mail or on their way. They're actually in the mail this afternoon. After the initial billing for consumption back in the fall, we worked with several property owners that had excessive consumption indicating an internal leak of some sort. Council passed a policy to give those customers relief, but the expectation was that they would have any plumbing issues corrected by the next billing. The Recreation Master Plan is getting closer to completion, and there should be an initial draft to present to Council and the public later this month. We will have the ability to review and provide any final input prior to finalizing and adopting. I want to thank all participants of the public consultation session, as the team from RC Strategies was delighted with the overall turnout. We have been discussing about parking along King Street in the downtown, but there are some design challenges council should be aware of. We'll also need to determine the construction window and how it affects traffic during our busiest times. Services. We have continued our recruitment efforts and filled the positions within Public Works with Alex McLean and welcomed Dylan Henry for the arena attendant and parks position. Both are early into their careers, which provides the start of succession planning, as many of our long-time staff are aged within a decade of each other. This will provide sufficient time for training and experience for the next generation of municipal workers. It is with sadness we bid goodbye to Debbie Lord after a near 20-year career at the youth center. She has touched many lives, and some of the current members are children of past members. We are organizing an event for people to wish her well. Stay tuned, and we'll make an announcement this week on timing. We've been actively recruiting for her replacement and hope to have someone in place over the next couple of weeks. In his reports, the fire chief has addressed the following concern. As you know, many phones are armed with an emergency function or even a crash app. Sometimes the application is accidentally activated and 911 is notified. They will call back, and if they do not get a response, they will dispatch emergency services. The problem is some people are so embarrassed they set it off, they do not answer the call back. So resources are being used for non-incidents. As someone who has set it off accidentally, answer the call, say it was a mistake, and the 911 operator will consider the case closed. It is becoming an issue across the country. The department also appreciates all those who attended the pushing in ceremony for the new ladder truck. It was a nice day and allowed the public a close-up look at the new equipment. Spring is always a busy time for Public Works as they prepare for the better weather. We appreciate the patience of those in the historical business district after the crew went in early last Tuesday to clean the sidewalk of the winter debris. It needs to be done early as the dust kicks up and there are almost no cars or pedestrians. A long time ago, it was hand swept, but that took the whole crew a few days just to go along Water Street. The large limb and brush program is underway again. On the last Friday over the next several months, Public Works will be picking up debris from 3 to 8 feet in length. Please leave it roadside and call Town Hall to schedule a pickup. The leaf pickup program is going to the end of this month. You can also bundle limbs into small tied bundles no longer than 3 feet and put them out with your leaf bags. In conclusion, the spring kicks into full gear with a town-wide yard sale this coming weekend. I think we set a record. We said 75 vendors. This is the most we've had in a lot of years. We plan on the VIC being open for the day for maps and washrooms. The farmers market starts on May 22nd with Paddle Fest the weekend before. We'll be releasing dates for the zoning bylaw and municipal plan consultation sessions later in the spring. This is a 10-year document that allows for a fair amount of public input. Despite the length of the bylaws, it is important for citizens, especially those interested in development, to review them and provide feedback. We anticipate a busy summer as accommodation reservations appear to be up as more tourists are indicating a preference for a staycation. Even staff have noticed how busy the downtown has gotten this year at an earlier time. We look forward to an active summer with several events to entertain everyone. Respectfully submitted, Chris Spear, Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Council, any questions regarding the staff report or the financials? I will say that I also emailed out was our first report back from the Wharfinger as well. So that staff report is in your inbox if you haven't had a chance to review it as well. Councillor Ware. And we'll go to Councillor Heenan after that.
Yes, I just have one question. In looking at the water department, I noticed 71,000 cubes pumped for pumped and treated, I assume, for the month, which would be roughly 15.8 million gallons. How does that compare to what we bill for a normal month?
We have about a 40% loss in between. Normal for municipalities is about 25%. We have been working to try to indicate where it is, but it's, a lot of it is extremely hard where everything is buried. And we know it's been extreme, but it's been extreme for a while, so we continue to try to find where it is. And to date, we have no indicators. We are working with the engineers to try to find a plan to indicate where it is, but without digging up lines and putting in meters, every 100 meters or something to try to see what the production is. It's a very hard process to undertake.
Thank you.
Fair question, though. There is a cost with that, right? And obviously environmental to go with that as well. I can just relate. At Kingsbury, we had a significant leak, and there was no signs of it anywhere. Like you walk the property, go down below, still couldn't understand where it went, so we had to shut the line off and do another one. Like, it was that substantial. and no signs of it. So I can imagine a municipal line and you know, there's runoffs and stuff like that, but there's a lot of places water can go, that's for sure.
Yeah, and just as a note, Your Worship, too, if you remember, council approved the clearing of the line between the water treatment plant and up to the town reservoir, basically, earlier. So we did do other staff did a big walk the whole trail a couple of times just to see if there's any indications. That is an extremely old line and will probably have to be replaced in the next decade, but nothing came like bubbling to the surface like you'd see in other areas of town.
Good question, though, for sure. Yeah, that much. Yeah, that's a fair point. Councillor Heaton, you had a question as well?
Just more of a comment, Your Worship. First off, I've been in to see the washrooms. They're spectacular, and I'd like to say a big thank you to our town staff for the work they did, and also to thank the merchants who picked up the slack of allowing customers to go in without being a customer and using their washroom, like the red herring, et cetera. So just a big thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think the visibility signs, that was a big complaint from a lot of businesses. They've been actually providing toilet paper and running water for a lot of people for a long time, so hopefully this helps. But it was top notch. I'll be honest, I talked about a mill rate reduction, and the social media response wasn't as positive as the pictures of the new washroom I posted online. So it had a lot of interaction. Just shows you what people are passionate about, I guess. But yes, thank you for that, Councillor. Anyone else? Okay, I'll look for a motion to accept the staff reports. I've got Councillor Heenan and seconded by Councillor Hurdle. All in favor of accepting those, please signify by saying aye. Thanks, Council. Appreciate that. Okay, so we are now jumping in. I've got my place back in my agenda into the introduction, consideration, and passing of bylaws and motions. So it's going over to Deputy Mayor Akagi.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship and Council. My first one is FA 250430. And it, from the presentation of Mr. Peter Logan, CPA of Teed, Saunders and Doyle, accountants and advisors provided with this motion, a report is a copy of the 2024 consolidated financial statements for the town of St. Andrews. The town was provided a clean financial statement review based on the public service accounting statements, which can be approved by council. So the motion is this, that the council of the town of St. Andrews approves the 2024 consolidated financial statements for the town of St. Andrews as prepared by Teed, Saunders, Doyle, and Doyle accountants and advisors. And I so move this, Your Worship.
Thank you. Seconder for that one. Got Councillor Gumashell winning that one. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all in favor of approving these financial statements, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the consolidated statements have been approved. Thank you, Council. Appreciate that. I'll give Councillor Neal just a moment. All right, Councillor Neal has recused himself. Back over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. This one is reference number FA 250433. And it's the lease agreement between the town of St. Andrews and physiotherapists and athletic therapists at the Wellness Center. So the background is this. The town of St. Andrews has negotiated new lease agreements with Giselle Neal, physiotherapist, and Ann Halls, athletic therapist, for the rental space at the Wellness Center. Note, this file was tabled at the April 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting for further discussion. If council is satisfied with the lease agreements, council can move to approve them. So the motion is this, that the town of St. Andrews enters into a lease agreement with Giselle Neal, physiotherapist, for rental space at the Wellness Center from February the 1st, 2025 to January 31st, 2030. And I so move this, Your Worship.
Once again, I'll be looking for a seconder for this motion. I've got Councillor Heenan. Discussion on this one. Councillor Bennett, I see we're reaching.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate the need for a new contract. However, we weren't provided a previous contract, so there was nothing to base this contract on. We had no means to gauge on what the change was. Also, when it came to making financial decisions, especially in this past year, we've called in experts to evaluate properties. For example, the property across from the veterinarian clinic there that we just recently put up the tender to sell, we brought in an expert to tell us what the property was worth. When it came to the whale watching business in Market Square that we moved and they needed a new contract, we brought in an expert and they told us what the building was worth. In this case, we have no idea. There's no idea what this medical clinic should be up for, like if it was at fair market value. We have no idea. We're not even sure what the total expenses are. I know that the annual budget for the medical clinic is roughly $87,000, but it doesn't include heat and lights. It doesn't include the ground maintenance. There's many things that it doesn't include. So there's no way that we could possibly make a financial decision without knowing what something costs and what it should be. And I get it that because it's a medical clinic, we're looking to subsidize to a certain degree the use for these therapists. And I do agree with, a subsidized amount, but we have no idea what it should cost or what it is costing the town. Also, I understand that the people that are using the medical clinic have never gone through an RFP process, and I think that's something that we absolutely need to do. For clear and transparency reasons, especially with the fact that one of these therapists is a counselor's wife. For total transparency, I do believe that this needs to go to RFP once we decide or once we figure out how much this is actually costing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Any other member of council? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? I'm seeing one nay. Thank you very much, council. The next motion?
All right, the second motion is that the town of St. Andrews enters into a lease agreement with Ann Halls, athletic therapist for rental space at the Wellness Center from February the 1st, 2025 to January 31st, 2030. And I so move this, your worship.
Thank you. I'll be looking for a seconder. I've got Councillor Gumashell. Discussion on this one. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Your Worship. As per the first motion for FA 250433, everything I said for the first motion goes equally for this one as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Any other member of council? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Registered again. Thank you, Councillor Bennett. All right, we'll let Councillor Neal come back to the room. And Councillor Neal, it's right over to you to welcome you back.
Thank you, Mayor. This one is reference number PWPS 250512. The subject is the tender award TSA 2025-06 A and B, Prince of Wales Street, Carlton Street, and Thomas Avenue. The background reads, during the 2025 capital budget process, Council approved the following in-ground construction projects: Prince of Wales Street, Edward Street to Adolphus, Carlton Street, Harriet Street to Mary Street, and Thomas Avenue, the storm sewer replacement. For practical reasons, the jobs were tendered in two separate projects. TSA 2025-06A, which is the Prince of Wales Water and Sewer, had 6 bidders. The lowest bid of $398,141.50, HST inclusive, was made by Meady Construction Limited. With HST removed, it would have been $346,210 compared to a budget of $555,000. TSA 2025-06B, Carlton Street Sewer and the Thomas Avenue Storm Sewer. The lowest bid of $224,094.75, HST inclusive, was made by Coastal Enterprises Limited. With the HST removed, it would have been $194,865 compared to a budget of $300,000. In both instances, the consulting engineer recommends we accept the bid. There were financial fees included in the budget for an additional $100,000. So the first motion reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews awards tender TSA 2025-06A Prince of Wales Street Water and Sewer to Meaty Construction Limited for a tender price of $398,141.50, HST inclusive. And I so move.
And I'll be looking for a seconder for that one. I've got Councillor Blanchard. Discussion on this one? There is a funding partner. Oh, so Councillor Ware, go ahead and then I'll add my comments.
Yeah, I was just looking at the budget, 555,000, and when I went back and looked at the approved budget for the year, it was 505,000.
So when we do our budget, we split it up into two parts. So the in-ground infrastructure shows up in the utility, and the other balance is under the general capital fund for the paving to replace the street on top. And so the tender includes both paving and in-ground.
Thank you. Just on this, we did have a funding partner for this one, correct?
No, Your Worship, actually, we had talked, back in March, we adjusted the budgets because we'd hoped to have a funding partner, but most programs are aimed at new housing in the first part of the year.
I've got the wrong section of Prince of Wales in my mind then, don't I?
Okay.
Yeah, it's further down. This is the one up on
The
the
other
Algonquin.
section you're talking
Yeah,
about is
this
from the
is-
King Street.
Yeah,
down.
sorry. This is because the specs aren't in this one. This is the one, just for clarity, up by the Algonquin. The one later we'll be doing for the one
Yeah.
further down on Prince of Wales, which has a funding partner.
Correct. Two-thirds.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity on that one. Appreciate it. Okay, then, any other discussion? Okay, let's call the question. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye. And anyone opposed? Seeing none, that has been awarded. The next motion, Councillor Neal.
The second one reads that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews awards tender TSA 2025-06B Carlton Street Sewer and Thomas Avenue Storm Sewer to Coastal Enterprises Limited for a tender price of $224,094.75, HST inclusive. And I so move.
Thank you once again. Seconder, Deputy Mayor Akergy, discussion on this one? Councillor Ware?
Same question. I think the budget said Carlton 125 and Thomas 160 for a total of 285 as opposed to 300.
Yeah, and same answer. So there's a little bit of paving required on the Carlton Street side. That's included in the transportation budget under general capital.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Your Worship. Can I ask who the engineering firm is that we're paying the $100,000 for the consulting fees?
Yeah, that'd be CBCL Limited. And just a note, though, that includes on-site inspection. So beyond design, they have someone here for the length of the project to watch, to ensure quantities, et cetera.
So over the past year or so, we've been disappointed a couple times by CBCL, and we've talked several times about branching out and utilizing other engineering firms. Is there a reason why we're not?
Well, particularly for these, they started doing the engineering for these back last fall, part of the budget process, so it just made sense to continue with them, that we can revisit it again this year as we get into new projects that they haven't had an opportunity to look at yet.
Going forward, are we going to continue to use CBCL exclusively, or would we branch out and use other engineering firms?
That'll be council's call. We can start to talk at a staff-led meeting. When we brought CBCL on, I want to say 12, 15 years ago, we did a general RFP for professional services, and they were chosen at the time. So if council wishes, we can do the same thing over the summer and to bring somebody on in the fall. I will say, the council certainly had some concerns over CBCL, so I won't defend them that way. But engineering services are getting harder and harder to get on a timely basis. We've talked to others, municipalities and other projects we do. As you know, we've had other projects that Dylan did 2 or 3 things for us the last couple of years. Then we have RC strategies of doing something. And so for the civil work outside of the wharf project, which has been a beast of its own, I know that there's some concerns. The CBCL has been very reliable and a good partner, but we can certainly revisit that. And they know our system the best, so to bring somebody on probably be a first year learning curve / price curve till they got used to our system, and then we'd be able to jump in.
Mr. Knopper, let's just add that to the registers and have a conversation on it, but let's add that to the registers if that makes sense, and maybe spend some more time on talking about that. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bennett. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor of awarding this tender, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That's everybody. It has been awarded. I will recuse myself.
We'll just give the mayor a moment.
I think this one's over to me, so if you just let me know when he's out of the room.
Yeah, I will. Okay, Councillor Hurdle, Economic Development, Business and Culture Committee, please take over.
Thank you very much. And this is in reference to EBC 250503. The subject is the request for support, Indulge Taste of St. Andrews for October 15th to 19th, 2025. Excuse me. The background is the town of St. Andrews has received a request for support for the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews event occurring October 15th to 19th, 2025. Please see the attached document for the full details of the request. The request is similar to what was approved in 2024 by Council, with a 2-phase plan depending on the Wharf and Market Square project. The following request includes the use of Market Square or King Street between Water and Queen Street, depending on the Wharf project, from Wednesday, October 15th to Monday, October 20th, 2025. Water Street will be closed from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Friday, October 17th, 2025, from Edward Street to Frederick Street. Public Works will install the hanging patio lighting along Water Street, support for the special occasion permit process with the province of New Brunswick, and to allow up to 5 food trucks to operate Friday night and all day Saturday. Food trucks will pay for the permit fee. And the motion before us is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the use of Market Square or King Street for the placement of the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews tent from October 15th to October 20th, 2025. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. We need a seconder, Councillor Bennett. Any further discussion, Council? Councillor Weir?
Yes, I'm relying on reports from my constituents and other people, and I'm just wondering what the town is doing to, and it applies, I don't know which one of these motions it applies to the most, but what the town is doing with respect to open liquor, drinking, and people under the influence on the public street of St. Andrews during this festival. And again, I apologize for getting this secondhand, but some people apparently are rather intoxicated, and I think on Sunday the traffic is allowed to flow again, and there's still people, maybe I shouldn't use the word staggering, but not completely in control of their muscular movements, let's call it that, with traffic scooting up and down the street. I have nothing against drinking, take the occasional drink myself, and but I'm just concerned from a liability issue and complying with the laws of the province of New Brunswick. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weir. Councillor Bennett?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I concur with your viewpoint there, and for someone who has participated this fully in the past couple of years, I will say I was a little shocked when Sunday, I guess I didn't realize for Sunday when the event goes on and it's just purely drinking and no food, going from store to store to store. There was a lot of people jaywalking, crossing the road, going from one side of the street to another while traffic was still going by, and I totally concur, and I do believe that it would be more than right to close the road for the portion of the Sunday activity as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Bennett. Mr. Spear?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The promoter of the event, not the mayor, but Ms. Bevington, who oversees, is aware of the concerns of several of the businesses down there. And the last year or so, I'll say that because there's more microbreweries coming up in New Brunswick, there's more of them coming to show their wares as compared to previous years. And so there are people, they're only given taste sampling sizes, but people are wandering outside what they should be. So she's trying to work on a plan. It should be up to the individual business owners to stop people. If, back in the days when I went to a bar in my younger, more youthful days, if you tried to walk outside a pub with a drink, a big guy in a burly thing would say, throw that in the trash can or you're not leaving. So she's aware of that. We're looking. I appreciate that maybe on the Sunday event to looking at that too. But so there may be a further request in the June or July meeting to further address that. But she's aware of the public's concern and is looking. I will say that the town should do whatever it can, but from a strictly liability side, she'd have an event assurance. So it's outside of our liability a little bit, which doesn't mean we don't have a moral obligation to try to correct this issue, but it's they're certainly aware of it and want to try to strengthen it this year, but it has grown tremendously on that side of the equation over the last couple of years.
Thank you, Mr. Spear. Anybody else? Okay, we need to have a vote. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Second motion?
Thank you very much. The next motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the closure of Water Street from Edward Street to Frederick Street on Friday, October 17th, 2025, from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews event. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Seconder? Councillor Gumashell beat you, Councillor Heenan, just by a little. Any other further discussion? I don't see any, so, no, he's just moving his hand. Okay, all those in favor? Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. And again, Councillor Hurdle?
Thank you very much. And that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the closure of King Street from Water Street to Queen Street from Wednesday, October 15th to Monday, October 20th, 2025 for the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews event if Market Square is unavailable due to wharf construction. And I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Seconded by Councillor Bennett. Any further discussion, Council? Councillor Spear. Mr. Spear,
thank you.
sorry. I'm so used to Councillor.
Thank you. That's okay, Deputy Mayor. Thank you. I will put out there, there'll be several businesses that'll be concerned about if it's moved up there. And the promoter is going to work with the 2 or 3 restaurants right along there to make sure access isn't being blocked and things like that. So that was our main concern because we even talked about moving it to somewhere else, but we went out and took the tape measure and made sure that the tent could fit in a way that kept those businesses viable, and it can.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spear. Any further comments? I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. Next, Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The next motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves Public Works to install patio lighting along Water Street for the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews event 2025, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle, and seconded by Councillor Heenan. Any further discussion, Council? Could you just extend it to Water Street by my house? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Carried. And your last one, Councillor Hurdle.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And the motion is that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews approves the Indulge Taste of St. Andrews 2025 event to a maximum of 5 food trucks operate on Friday, October 17th and Saturday, October 18th, 2025, and pay the permit fee of $75 per vehicle, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Hurdle. Seconder, Councillor Blanchard. Any further discussion, council? Not seeing any. All those in favor, aye. Contrary minded? Carried unanimously. I think you can invite the mayor back now. Please.
Jump right into planning and community development, and by default, Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. Reference number PCD 250102, Amendment Z22-11 to zoning bylaw Z22-01 for the second and third readings. It has been identified by the planners at the Southwest New Brunswick Service Commission and the town staff that there needs to be a text amendment changes to the zoning bylaw specifically related to fencing. Challenges with this section of the bylaw have been highlighted, especially through the Planning Advisory Committee processes. The bylaw processes to dates are as follows. Public hearing of objections, February the 18th, 2025. Obtain views of the PAC, February the 19th, 2025. First reading, March the 3rd, 2025. Discussion by council and staff direction, April 22nd, 2025. Note that the council did revert to the original wording of the amendment on types of materials for fences to provide all options of fencing based on affordability, look, feel, and protection of residential properties in the town plan and visions. If council is satisfied with the feedback received on this amendment and are in agreement, council can proceed with the second and third reading. One of the actions is motion that the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the second reading to Amendment Z22-11 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for the Town of St. Andrews, and Your Worship, I so move.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Councillor Heenan. A seconder, Councillor Bennett. Discussion. Just a quick clarification. So I know that they made the adjustment. So the individual that wrote in that fence can now be permitted. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and
Because
that's
it's not located within the historic business district. So
okay, 'cause
that's
it's outside of it.
That's correct. So section 4 of where you see at the bottom there, so 2.4
Yeah.
was the section that added town plat and environs prior.
And there are 2
council
blocks
asked that
outside.
to remove that, so they're outside that.
Yeah, they're a couple blocks outside. Okay,
Correct.
perfect. Wanted to make sure because that I don't know about you, but that didn't offend me. The job that they did there, and I don't think it offended anyone around it. It was done tastefully. So, thank you for that change. I appreciate it. Any other member of council? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor of going to second reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye, Your Worship.
That is everybody. So this is bylaw number Z22-11, a bylaw to amend bylaws number Z22-01, being the zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. That was read by title. I am done. It was read the second time. Next motion.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. That the Council of the Town of St. Andrews grants leave for the third and final reading to Amendment Z22-11 to the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for the Town of St. Andrews, and I so move.
Once again, seconder, Deputy Mayor Akaji. Discussion? Probably not, based on the last one. All in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye, Your Worship.
And now it's a reading for the third and final time by title. It's bylaw number Z22-11, a bylaw to amend bylaws number Z22-01, being the zoning bylaw for the town of St. Andrews. Read the third and final time on May 5th, 2025. Thank you, council. And I believe our last motion, is it? Last motion of the evening. Yep.
Thank you, Your Worship. Once again, it's PCD 250503, appointment of Jean LaRue to the Heritage Board of the Town of St. Andrews. Under bylaw number 24-04, Heritage Bylaw and Heritage Conservation Act of the Province of New Brunswick, the town has established a Heritage Board. Currently, there are 2 vacancies on the board. Note that under the Act, these members must meet specific criteria to participate. 1 vacancy is for Heritage Conservation Act, Section 47, bracket D. At least one person with professional knowledge and work experience in the field of architecture, restoration, architecture, or historic architecture, or if no such person is available, a person with professional knowledge and work experience in general restoration and renovation work to be appointed by council. The town has received interest from Jean LaRue to fill this role. Please see the attached CV for more details. Mr. LaRue's experience and expertise would be a great addition to the board. Note that this member position does not have to be a resident of the town of St. Andrews, but must have the professional experience necessary to fill the role. And the action is motion that the council of the town of St. Andrews appoints Mr. John LaRue to the Heritage Board for a 2-year term. I so move.
Looking for a seconder for that motion. Okay, Councillor Blanchard, discussion? Okay, all in favor of that appointment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That is everybody. Welcome aboard, Mr. LaRue. I think you've all looked at the CV. I don't think you'll probably find a professional with as much experience as Mr. LaRue has. And I know he doesn't live in the community, but you see him down here often, and he's been involved with Heritage Books in the past, and he knows St. Andrews Heritage well. So very happy to see that he raised his hand for the community. That is, when it comes to heritage, a big fish to have on the board. So it's great to see. So thank you, Mr. LaRue. Nothing under new business. Question period. Is there anyone that sent an email in online or anyone that is online, Mr.?
I've received no emails. I'll make a call out to that person that's online. For those that are online that would like a comment or a question to council, please raise your hand. Last call for those that are online that have a question or comment to council, please raise your hand. I'm gonna say no.
Thank you, Mr. Knopper. Anyone in the audience have a question this evening? Nope. Good. All right. So that will conclude question period. Councillor and Deputy Mayor's comments. Councillor Heenan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to bring something forward that has been, a few folks have emailed me about the cellular coverage, of course, to echo Councillor Hartland's request. There's people moving into the new subdivision on Bar Road, and there's no cellular coverage there. And they're quite upset by it. It's Alliant. It's not Rogers. It's Alliant. So I told them that I'd just bring it forward and put it out there on the floor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We will follow up. There is 2 account managers that I've dealt with on cell phone issues in the past. The only response I got was from Bell. Rogers did not formally respond, and Bell said that they're doing tower upgrades in 2026, which does little good for now. And unfortunately for those new residents, I can confirm that it's going to go from bad to worse. As St. Andrews gets busier, the entire subdivision is almost without cell phone reception now. So I know it's not the only area. With Rogers, when I hit approaching the clam digger, I lose it for about probably 3 minutes on the drive, just in that whole stretch. So there's areas all across St. Andrews, Shamcook, Bayside wards, unfortunately, and I found that it's actually a situation where it is getting worse, not better. They did say that more people are now using data on their phones than actually going on computers and stuff like that, and that is a bit of a challenge that they have. But at the end of the day, is the infrastructure probably isn't supporting the growth of our population either. And as technology increases, they haven't adjusted. And I think we can speak for everybody in the community that what cell phone bills are now, you should have better service than what we do have. And I have brought it to both of our MP and MLA in the past. So we will continue to advocate for that file. And it's always good to bring it to attention. So thank you for that. Mr. Spear.
Yeah, just want to ask, I guess not to put him on the spot, but Councillor Neal, who serves on the fire department. Now, a few years ago, they all put us over this trunk mobile system, which uses the same cell phone. So do you find that that service goes out of service, or have they got the equipment so, boosted up that you don't run into issues with them losing coverage?
Yeah, excuse me, I haven't seen a lot of issues with regards to our TMR radios. Saying that, again, there are times, and again, weather can play into it, everything else, when, you'll get a weaker signal. Traffic does play a part of it as well. But for the most part, no, I haven't really seen the same issues with our radios that we have with the cell phones.
Thank you for the clarification.
Councillor Ware.
Yes, the other thing that's affecting the service is the rural internet is getting more common in the area. I have that and Elon's system both. But at times when the internet usage is high, the cell phone service is worse. And at times when the cell phone service is at its peak, then I get slow internet service. So the tower is just the one that services me, which is up by the where 127 joins onto number 1. The tower just can't handle the traffic that's going through it. It's technology's not there. It needs more capabilities.
Thank you, Councillor Ware. Councillor Blanchard, I saw your hand as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to make note of the updates to the provincial water quality data portal that was sent out, an email that was sent out to council from the Department of Environment and Local Government. Provides water quality data on lakes and rivers throughout the province. So with the summer season coming, some people are always interested in the water quality out at Chamcook Lake and other areas around. I don't know if this has already been done, but just wanted to suggest maybe we could put a link to that on the town website.
We'll explore that. I want to converse with the province to make sure it's that public, but if it is, I can't see why it wouldn't be. We will. Or Paul will.
Councillor Ware.
Yes, one other issue that come up today is the proposed helipad or whatever it is up on Rankin Road. Evidently, sometime around 11:30 this morning, helicopter settled down there and there was crying children and there was animals going in all directions. And I'm just wondering, is there any zoning required to put that thing in there? It's a residential neighborhood, a lot of new homes in there, and
So we are aware of the potential business that the person is trying to do, and they do want to present to council. On the file itself, we have spoken with Transport Canada about what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. Technically, with the spacing and the distances that are there now, they are technically allowed to land on that property as a basis of testing the site. If they are planning to do things like pick up people for commercial flights from there, which we understand is part of the intent, there are going to be zoning regulations they have to meet. And Transport Canada has said to us that any regulations that the town has in place for zoning, as it pertains to as it pertains to helicopters or just zoning around residential areas or farms, that individual has to meet all the zoning regulations before they'll be legally allowed to have permits to fly commercially with people coming on and off that location. But based on the current use, they're technically allowed to land there. It was suggested they land farther back on the property, but not mandated, so they could land anywhere within that zone. And we are well aware from the neighbors, not just from this date, but several other dates of concern. So we've actually had discussions with the business owner last year. We've had discussions with our planners and Transport Canada, and Transport Canada wants, when they do present to council, to actually have a copy of what was said so they can ensure that they're meeting the standards of Transport Canada as well as the town. So on your new zoning bylaw, right now you've got the Bayside Rural Plan, which is very limited on what you can do, but with the new zoning bylaw coming in process, there's going to have to look at how that works as well in that area. And speaking with the planners, it's becoming developed. So one of the adjacent property owners has subdivided for residential development, which also further adds to what they would need to do if they wanted to have a helicopter or a helipad there. The other sound protections, the other barriers, the other mechanisms. So it will eventually come in forward to council. So just be aware, but we understand that we will be looking at it from the zoning bylaw standards, potentially from noise bylaw standards, if council wants to look at that as well. But also they have to meet all of the Transport Canada regulations before they're issued permits to fly off of there as a commercial business.
By all means.
just a follow-up comment. I've also spoken to Transport Canada, avionics, and evidently it's the angle at which they're coming in. and I have a lot of experience flying in helicopters, not flying them myself. I've even jumped out of them, so, you know, it's great sport. But today they evidently come in at a very, more like a plane than a helicopter. Helicopter can come pretty well straight down, and they just not
Yeah.
being respectful.
Through your worship, and that's what we received at town hall, was we had actually people come in with concerns, as well as we actually took 4 complaints in total today for it. But any additional information that we can provide to Transport Canada so they're aware helps within any of the processes. So if there's any concerns from any residents, or they have questions, to please contact town hall, and so that we can at least mark them down and be brought forward to both council and Transport Canada.
So in summary, so far it's federally approved, but in order for it to be a commercial business picking up passengers, it would have to come into compliance with the zoning bylaw of the town of St. Andrews, which is being defined as we speak.
Yeah, and even Transport Canada's regulations are pretty strict. Right now, it's classified, for lack of a better word, like a temporary landing zone. So for them just to come in, they're kind of okay with that, but as there's more development or there's more routine to what the proponent is doing, they're going to be asking a lot more questions too. So they're taking it very seriously. It's just, then the proponent's been in contact with us probably close to 6 or 7 months to try to work his way through this. So he's just doing some test flights, and we'll have to see how it goes.
I guess my other comment is I met a number of these people at Transport Canada when I took my drone training, or policing zone drones. And does the town have a bylaw to control zone or drones being flown in the area? Because there is a whole set of rules that you have to comply with.
At this current time, through your worship, we don't have any bylaws that regulate the use of drones. Now, the Transport Canada has a lot of regulations now that they've put in place. Anything, I think it's like over 250 grams as a drone, you need an actual pilot's license. You actually have to go through the drone training offered by Transport Canada, like you're not allowed to fly. So, but a lot of these smaller little drones, we have no regulations or anything for as it pertains to usage.
Yeah, I took the course, and for someone to fly at the port, any drone that was capable of taking pictures and everything, they'd present me with their license, flight plan, and the entire thing. It was like being an air traffic controller. And so there are a lot of rules that have to be complied with.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. I think you had a question as well, or comment?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to just give a shout out to Margot Belanger. Her new business, Marie's, opened up this past weekend in downtown Core. We were fortunate enough to be able to get in and see the renovation of the building and the new business, and I think it's a wonderful addition to the downtown core, and thank her for the effort that she's put into it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other member of council? Deputy Mayor Agee?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of things. I want to thank the people that have been bringing bags in for me for the food banks, and they would like to thank you. Please keep bringing them in. I got a lot yesterday at the town office, but still always can use more, because I don't want to, and none of our dial-a-ride drivers wish to carry those boxes. They're just too heavy. So bags are great, and they'll take any kinds of bags, and they use them quite widely. They don't get them back usually, so it's a one-way trip, but it helps with the carrying of the bags. And I want to wish Debbie all the best. Going to miss her at the youth center. She's a vibrant component, and I know it's going to be hard to fill her shoes, but I wanted to thank her personally. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you. And yeah, on Debbie Lord, I know people are inquiring. There is going to be a celebration, as Mr. Spear said in his report. We're just dotting some I's and crossing some T's to make sure it's exactly what Debbie wants as well. So more to come on that. I would actually assume it could even be as early as tomorrow. So it's close. I did speak to Debbie before. So thank you. For my comments, I just wanted to acknowledge this Harris Brewing Company and DDM, which is dumpsters, demos, and more. I had to write that down. they organized a community cleanup over the weekend, and we have a clean community. Like, if you've traveled around, you'll realize that the amount of debris we have a good public works team. Even that, if you go by the ditches of Shamcook and Bayside, there's individuals out there that do a good job of keeping it clean as well. But I was out in Shamcook, and on the way back, I saw 4 different groups, along the highway cleaning up the ditches and stuff like that. So very nice of them to organize a community cleanup on their own without the municipality. It was well done and well led, and they paid for all the cost of it on their own. So it was great to see, and then the dumpster was full that they had. So they definitely did find some debris along the ditches. So thank you to all of them. It's greatly appreciated. So that wraps up Mayor's comments. We are going to go to closed session this evening. So at 7:43 p.m., I'm looking for council to move into closed session per the Local Governance Act 68(1)(c), which is information that could cause financial loss or gain to a person or the local government, or could jeopardize negotiations leading to an agreement or contract. Could I have a mover for that closed session? Councillor Blanchard, seconded by Councillor Gumichel. All in favor of going to closed session, please signify by saying aye. Thank you, everybody, for attending and watching this evening.